Gary Neville's questioned the professionalism of Manchester United duo Casemiro and Marcus Rashford over their trips to the United States during the international break. Rashford was in attendance at Madison Square Garden in New York on Monday night. Was seen leaving the venue following an NBA match between the New York Knicks and the Brooklyn Nets. While midfielder Casemiro flew to Orlando for a family holiday to Disney World, as seen on his Instagram. Looks like having a great time. Speaking on the latest episode of Stick to Football, though, Neville said he, meaning Marcus Rashford, has got a mental break. He's got to get away and has got to rest with friends. Then you talk about the choice of venue. How far do you fly? What's the time difference? Is that going to give a jet lag issue? Is that going to give a stiffness issue from being on a flight? This is on Casemiro more than Rashford, but if I'm 30 years old and I'm looking after my body, and he's won 5 Champions Leagues and is an unbelievable player, but if he was away with Brazil for 10 days, we would say he would struggle this weekend because he's been away. I'm not that wound up about Rashford and Casemiro going over to the United States. I'm asking the question based on professionalism. You're playing badly, the team are losing, you're 13th in the league, and there is a new manager coming in. Would you choose that trip as a break to recharge your batteries? That's not a recharging trip. It's not right, that.
We're going to continue to look ahead to the weekend's Premier League games now. A first sight of Ruben Amorim. What can we read into the clips of his first training sessions?
Yeah, well, maybe we can take some clues from training clips released by the club. It's important to remember that he did not have his full team available due to internationals, limited numbers, not a full 11. Also, just one training drill out of many. But both clips show similar patterns of play, building up from defence, getting it wide, then into the box. We still won't fully know until we see his team on Sunday. Look, we know he likes to use the 3-4-3 formation at Sporting. Mason Mount playing in a narrow front three with Marcus Rashford and Amad Diallo arriving in the box both times. Does that point to attacking role maybe for Mount? Will we see a front three? Mainu and Casemiro sitting deeper in midfield. A system with 2 deeper midfielders, perhaps. Wing-backs bombing on from deep. Anthony Hughes is just one of them. Or just making up the numbers. Could we see an attacking player at wing-back, as Jamie Carragher suggested on M&F a few weeks ago? But it seems full-backs are expected to get forward.
Well, nicely done. Yeah. You've been sat around doing nothing for 40 minutes, so you may as well get involved now. Ipswich first up. I'm sure buoyed by that brilliant win at Spurs just before the international break. How does the early fixture list look for Ruben Amorim?
Let's have a look at the fixtures then for Ruben Amorim. Let's have a look. Oh, here we are. Look at the big screen. Now, look, it's a lot to take in, Manchester United fans and non-Manchester United fans, but the first few games, you would think he would be pretty happy with that. I mean, Ipswich is going to be a tough game. They got their win against Spurs the other week. Then it's the Europa League. Then the Everton game. I like the look of that one on December the 4th, Arsenal away. December the 19th, Tottenham is the League Cup quarter-final. Early chance for a bit of silverware for Ruben Amorim. He will spend Boxing Day in Wolverhampton. And look at that on January the 5th. His first taste of that rivalry between Liverpool away January the 5th. Will Arne Slot and his Liverpool side be top of the league by then? We'll wait and see. But Manchester United fans, write them down. They are your fixtures.
He's not going to play 3-4-3 straight away, is he?
Oh, I've no idea. I mean, why wouldn't he?
Oh, you think he would?
Well,
no, just so give me a...
By everything I've heard about Amorim, that's his way of playing.
So just explain to me from a player's perspective how long it takes for someone to understand what he's trying to get across, or is it something that's actually quite simple?
Right. Here's the thing. When you're playing at Manchester United, and I know we've criticised some of the players, we don't think they're good enough for United, but the fact that, you know, they've come from Ajax and they've come from top clubs, you have a superb, generally, understanding of how the game plays, right? And so when he tells you about the way he wants to play, most of them will understand what he wants.
OK.
But then it becomes, are they capable of doing it?
So just explain to me in layman's terms, really basically, what he will say to them with regards to 3-4-3.
Well, so if he wants his back three, so generally when you play a back three, the one in the middle is the one organising everybody.
And that will be who?
Exactly, that's the problem.
OK.
Man United don't have anybody that can do that.
Right.
So you put him in the middle, and you put 2 athletes either side of him, and they're the ones that challenge, they're the one that cover the runners, and the other guy cleans everything up. And then the two wide guys have to be able to get up and down for 90 minutes and put the miles in. So if you've got a guy who has a fantastic left peg and who's great in the final third, but can't get around, then that's a problem.
So
but you're going to have to do...
If you haven't got a leader, why are you pursuing this if you know you haven't got the tools to complete it?
Well, because generally what you'll do is you'll go to what you know.
Okay.
And then you'll try and put it into the players. As opposed to sitting watching what you have and go, you know what, this team's suited to 4-2-4 or 4-4-2 or whatever it is, but you're not quite happy with it yourself, it's not something you like, you will tend to go and try and put on the field what you can absolutely drum into somebody.
Right.
And make sure they know exactly where they should be, when they should be there, and what they should be doing.
Frank, do you have similar thoughts on this?
Yeah, I totally agree. You have to adapt, and I'll give you a simple example. I could have played with Chelsea at 3 at the back, and I had to go with the national team and play flat 4 at the back with Aimé Jacquet. And you have to know, because that's your job. You work on that. You've been working with some other teams, and you adapt to the situation. That's the leadership also that you have to get. I'm mostly during my career been the guy in the middle of the defense, and I was dealing with the two centre backs, let's say, if we would play at 3, and I played with Marseille that, and the week after we're playing at 4 at the back, depending on the opposition. You have to know different tactics and setup, so it shouldn't be a problem. They have Martinez, they have De Ligt, they have, I don't know if Maguire is fit, even Evans. They are players who can play 3 at the back, and they can lead any others. So it shouldn't be a problem for Amorim to straight away start with the 3 at the back for me.
Now, Frank doesn't need me to tell him how good of a player he was. He reminds us of that quite often, right? Well, Frank is much better than whatever he just mentioned for Manchester United. So when Frank says, I was able to do it at Chelsea and then go to France and play different formations, well, that's one level of player. That's a different level of player than the ones that Manchester United has available right now. And the ones that he just mentioned, these are guys that, honestly, you look at them and think, which one of those guys is going to play in the middle of that back 3? Right. Which one is suited to do that? Who has the skill set to do that? And you kind of go crickets, because none of those guys really have proven to be able to have that role. I think of guys that in the past have played that role. A guy like, for example, Franco Baresi. That you never saw this guy sweating. Yep. That's how good he was able to read the game, and he would step into the midfield and play with the midfields and connect. Who in Manchester United has this? Who can do that for Manchester United? I don't think that is actually the case. And then you go, well, who are then the athletes that are going to play on the outside as this part of this back 3? Where are those guys? I don't think they exist currently at Manchester United. And so that's when I kind of go, all right, you may have a way of playing, and eventually this will be the way that you will set up your team. But you sort of have to ease your way into it while you actually evaluate what you have available. And because this has been an international break, there isn't a whole lot of time for you to evaluate and say, this guy goes here, that guy goes there, this guy goes there. I honestly think if you are a manager, the worst thing that you can do is shoehorn a formation and say, I don't care what guys I have, this is the way we're playing. I think you should actually have the adaptability to say, you know what, right now we're not quite ready for this. Let's get ourselves through the first couple of games, and let's continue to work on the things that would eventually allow us to play the way I want us to play.
The biggest problem with that is that it is 3. That's the biggest problem. You know, you look what Klopp did at Liverpool. It wasn't the Klopp that began at Liverpool to when he left. It was still the same sort of shape. It was just a different way of playing. Right. When you go to 3, that's a whole new ball game. Complete new ball game. That's the problem. And you have to have pace. If you don't have any pace defensively, you're in trouble.
Well, Matthias de Ligt, for example, he'll now be isolated, right? Because there is no help coming from an outside back, right? And so when that ball is played over the top on the turn, He doesn't have help on the outside. It's up to him. He is the one that is counted upon to be the athlete, to be able to keep up in 1v1 situations. Now, we have seen the Matthias de Ligt on the turn. It's beep, 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 and eventually he gets turned. Again, that is something that can be exposed just by the structure of the team. Yeah. If you set up with a back three, that is something that can be exposed if anybody's paying attention and say, okay, where are the spaces? Over there and over there, these guys can't keep up with. That's where we're going to play.
With Manchester United struggling in 13th place in the Premier League and a new manager stepping into the spotlight, you'd think the focus would be on regrouping and training. Instead, two of United's stars, Marcus Rashford and Casemiro, took trips to the United States during the November international break. And it didn't sit well with club legend Gary Neville. The professionalism, looking after your body, making sure you're best prepared for the next training session, it's critical. Rashford and Casemiro chose to fly across the Atlantic, and I just question the timing and impact of those decisions. Manchester United is in crisis mode. With just 15 points from 11 matches and 1 Europa League win in 4 games, the Red Devils need all hands on deck. Yet Rashford was seen courtside at a New York Knicks game, and Casemiro visited Disney World with his family. While some fans see this as a necessary mental break, others, and Neville in particular, view it as unprofessional given the team's dire situation. Neville questioned not just the trips themselves, but the implications for their physical readiness. He pointed out the toll of long-haul flights and time zone changes, saying these decisions could affect their performance when returning to training. This is on Casemiro more than Rashford. If you're 30 years old, have won 5 Champions Leagues, and are in the middle of a tough season, why take a 12-hour flight with an 8-hour time difference? That's not how you recharge for a critical period. Casemiro has faced criticism for his performances this season, especially after a disastrous showing against Liverpool, where he was pulled at halftime. Despite some improvement in October, scoring 3 goals, questions remain about his consistency and fitness. If Casemiro had been away with Brazil for 10 days, we'd criticize his readiness. So why is a personal trip to the U.S. any different? The fan base is divided. Some argue Rashford and Casemiro deserved a break to recharge mentally after a grueling schedule. Others believe these trips send the wrong message to teammates and fans during one of United's worst starts in years. Meanwhile, Manchester United welcomed Ruben Amorim as the new boss during the break. The 39-year-old had the opportunity to meet several players who stayed behind for training. But Rashford and Casemiro's absences raise questions about their commitment as the team transitions to a new era. When you're 13th in the league, losing games, and the new manager is coming in, would you choose this kind of trip as your mental break? It's not right. That's not a recharge. With Amorim's debut looming against Ipswich Town, all eyes are on Manchester United. Can the team rally and prove Neville's concerns unwarranted? Or will Rashford and Casemiro's choices cast a shadow over the squad's ability to turn things around? Final text overlay. What do you think? Were Rashford and Casemiro right to take these trips, or should they have stayed focused on the job at hand? Let us know in the comments below. If you love in-depth football insights, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to stay updated on all things Manchester United.